Bore da, a croeso fawr iawn I Cymru. Diolch yn fawr iawn I pawb o dod yma heno o Bori. Welcome to Wales. I think Martin's already covered that. Yeah, delighted to have so many people here today, over 200. So we're delighted with that. I'm just going to take the next 10, maybe 15 minutes, depending on this red and blue light that I've got up here in terms of keeping me on track and on time. And just going to give you a background to Marine Energy Wales, but also marine energy in Wales, which is different. And just posing a couple of questions. A question I've asked myself over the last decade, and I think a question that's fair in terms of the sector. We're going to talk about a State of Sector report that we're delighted to be launching today. The Deputy Minister for Economy and Transport, Lee Walters AM, will be here this afternoon to officially launch the report. So we're delighted about that. I'm just going to go into a few of the facts and figures, and we'll be issuing everyone here today with a hard copy to take away. And we will be absolutely circulating that to all Welsh MPs and AMs directly after the event. I'm going to talk about some of the future priorities for us. And again, back to that question, is it worth it? So very, very briefly, a little bit about us. We are a not-for-profit community interest company set up in the year 2000. You could argue that's something that we say we were born from disaster, actually, based on an oil spill in Milford Haven, the Sea Empress disaster in the late 90s. On the backdrop of that, it was decided that a coastal partnership would be a good idea in terms of involving stakeholders and a real focus on sustainable coastal management. So that's been key to all what we do. We began our work on marine energy in around about 2007. Just this week, actually, I started to go through some of the minutes of the very first meetings. There was 6 of us around the table in those days, and there was 2 marine energy developers. So, yeah, delighted to say that has increased significantly. We launched Marine Energy Wales in Brussels in 2016 officially, and we now have around about 20 international global wave and tidal developers who are showing a real interest in developing projects in Wales. As part of our working group, it's also the Welsh Government, the Crown Estate, Natural Resources Wales, local authorities and public actors that really do also have a key role to play if we are going to really drive this low-carbon innovative sector forward. In terms of the things that we work on, policy is one of them. Interestingly, if we go back 10 years, and I just, as I say, looked at the minutes, there was around about 2 sentences in Welsh policy on marine energy in 2008, and there was £15,000 worth of funding to get us going. So over the last 10 years, I'm delighted to say that landscape has changed. I know the Minister this afternoon, I'm sure will pick up on this, and Peter as well will certainly talk about some of the positive landscapes that we have here, which is, I think from a political perspective in Wales, it's one of the most supportive policy landscapes in the world. The Wellbeing the Future Generations Act, the Environment Act, I know Prosperity for All and Low Carbon Wales, and yeah, also the developing Welsh National Marine Plan, really important for us and the sector, and I'm delighted to have been able to influence some of those policies and make sure that marine energy is in there. Lots of work on supply chain, also research as well, not just being a collaborative partner in some of the great research that's been going on in Wales, particularly most recently with SEACAMS 2. But again, I think that's one of the biggest changes we've seen over the last 10 years. I think researchers now really have serious developers and actually bits of kit and devices to work with. So I think that's been one of the biggest changes that we've noticed. I think 10 years ago, when we held the conference, there was a lot of concepts, there were a lot of slides, and I'm sure as we go through the day, you'll actually see some real bits of kit and real bits of metal making their way into the water. Also, it's really easy to write this word on a slide, collaboration. It's much more difficult to deliver it, but that's something again that's been key for us as a coastal partnership and certainly as Marine Energy Wales, and that's something that we are passionate about and will be driving forward. In terms of that, we have an MOU with Marine Renewables Canada, Delighted to say that the Canadian Trade Mission are here today as well. Marine Eye and Cornwall, Matt's here as well. We have a MOU with WaveHub, worked really closely with Scotland and Highlands and Islands over the last decade. I know the Welsh Government have an MOU with Brittany. We'd be really interested and keen to see how we can develop that specifically around marine energy. Working closely with Sweden and increasingly so with the Department of Energy from the US as well. If the next 10 or 15 minutes, if I can't get this message across that Wales is committed to marine energy, I feel like I've failed personally. If I do fail personally in the next 10 minutes, then absolutely by the end of the day, it'll be crystal clear, I think, that as a nation, we are absolutely committed to marine energy. I thought I'd throw up a couple of slides that are I guess interesting in terms of the press's view of marine energy. Some of the things that have come from Green Tech Media. Process hasn't been slow, it's been non-existent. We've been doing this since the 1800s. Science projects, Scotland has been throwing hundreds of millions at this. Here's another one, our great friends at the Spectre. Wave power is a really stupid idea. That's why it's getting so much funding. So my response to that is probably this. So is it fake news? We'll wait and see over the next 10 minutes. I thought I'd try and deliver some facts. If you look at DEC, the Department for Energy and Climate Change at a UK government level, the funding for marine since 2010 has been less than 0.1% of their budget. So that's a fact. Round about every £1 of public support has leveraged £7 from the private sector. And this is really important as well to note, a high percentage of that has come from international global companies who are coming to the UK and are coming to the Wales and investing their money in our locations. Also, as well, it's a relatively high supply chain content that we've been able to capture to date as well, not just in Wales, but across the UK. And even through this innovation phase, and it does feel like we're starting to come out of that innovation phase, particularly with Tidal Stream, marine has been a net contributor to UK PLC, and I think that's a message that we haven't driven home to certainly at a Westminster level. Is it worth it? I'm going to talk to you very, very briefly about a study that we're launching today. Here's some key points as well. This is before commercialisation. Certainly from a Welsh perspective, we're looking at Tidal Stream, Wave and Tidal Range. The facts and figures I'm about to go into as well, what's really, really important, these are direct impacts. These do not pick up on wider supply chain multipliers or value added, and depending on which economist you speak to, that can vary greatly. What's also really important is this has been driving innovation, high-skilled jobs into the peripheral coastal economies of Wales, areas that need them the most. Without doubt, it's provided some supply chain diversity and resilience as well. And I've mentioned that inward investment and also the research that's been going on across our universities in Wales as well, you know, world-leading research. We did this study first in 2015. We repeated it in 2017, and today we're launching the report for 2019. You can see just over 96 million been invested in the sector in Wales, so some significant figures. And we talked about the coastal periphery. You know, this is really, really driven economic benefit, social economic benefit in places like Anglesey and in Pembrokeshire as well. In terms of the breakdown, you can see that activities from companies like Monesto, Morelice, Nova, really driving that investment into Tidal Stream, Wave and Tidal Range. 566 person years of employment. So we now have around about 133 FTEs working on marine energy in Wales. And again, these are direct jobs. These are people working in marine energy companies. This does not take into account the hundreds or the tens of additional jobs that have been captured in the supply chain. So I just want to make that point again. These are direct jobs. Over 50% Welsh supply chain content. Monesto have delivered their project with around about 70% of Welsh supply chain content. Bombora currently at the moment are pushing over 60. And that's not just Welsh supply chain contact, that's actually within 20-mile radius of their project. MPS delivering over 200 Welsh supply chain contracts. And that also demonstrates the capability that the supply chain has in Wales. You know, really, really do have, particularly an energy-focused supply chain capability. We would absolutely expect these numbers to keep increasing as the Welsh European Funding Office, Peter will pick up on this, allocated over 100 million euros in 2014. Not all of that has been allocated yet, and certainly not all of the projects that have been allocated have finished on their project delivery yet, so these figures and impacts will absolutely go up. I'm not going to dwell too much on this. All of the project leads are here today, and they are way more educated than I am in terms of delivering activities and updates on their project. I just thought it was really, really useful to just see this spatially in terms of the activity that's going on. As I say, Martin can talk about Monesto. Henry's here to talk about Tide Energy. Gerard from Morais, CCAM's team are here as well. So you'll hear all of this in a lot more detail. So I don't feel like I need to spend any more time on that. Globally, it's really interesting in terms of what's going on. We monitor the global market, collect it all in an Excel spreadsheet. And these are deployments. These are just deployments in the last 2 years. So you can see an awful lot going on in the UK. Japan's starting to deploy Wave and Tidal now. Shuttle in Singapore. Chile really starting to look at it. Development of the Bourne Tidal test site at Cape Cod. The Department of Energy in America have just the last week announced a $23 million fund for marine energy. Multiple deployments in Canada. The EU, it's a real range of scope of activity that's going on in and around the EU. So you can see why the European Commission are also fully behind this sector. Activity in Indonesia, Korea. So there's a lot going on. Is it worth it? I stole this slide from Gavin from Nova. Apologies if you've seen it before. This is what you can do if you capitalise on an early mover advantage. This is what Denmark did. You can see the population breakdown. You can see installed wind capacity. And these figures from 2016, they will absolutely have gone up. I think what's really interesting here is the population, the wind sector turnover and wind sector exports that Denmark have delivered of 7.3 million or billion in a year. And that is one of the benefits that we can absolutely capture if we continue to deliver on marine energy. So we can be like Denmark, or we can be like the UK. This is what we're going to be focusing on coming up. We have an industry-led business plan. It's developed by industry, for industry, to help us deliver on the sector. Our outputs are prioritised quarterly. We will continue to work with and influence Welsh policy and Welsh Government support. We have our quarterly working group meetings. Delighted to say that we've grown from 6 people around the table to having a fully booked working group meeting at 50 every quarter, focusing on consenting, a real focus on demonstration zones. As Wales, to provide that single point of access is really important for us. I mentioned that word collaborate again. Real focus, you know. It's great to see that CCAMS too, will all of their research now have an industry partner in delivering that. Education as well, I think that's really important for us. It's been great that we've been able to get marine energy and sustainability actually into the national curriculum over the last couple of years, and getting the kids out and about and getting them standing on wave energy devices. You know, it's absolutely fantastic. I think this is one thing, and we'll probably pick this up in the session coming up this afternoon. I don't think this is one thing that we've done enough at, is public awareness. There is public support for marine energy. It's its highest levels ever. I just don't think we've pushed that into actually policy support and really galvanizing. You've seen what a social push can do just recently with climate change and the climate change marches. Hammond mentioning climate change in a budget speech just recently for the first time ever. You know, marine plastics, just the push of marine plastics globally has been staggering. And I don't think we as a sector have really tapped into that as much as we should. We will absolutely continue to collaborate with IUK, the Marine Energy Council, and establish a route to market and UK policy support. Is that easy? Not really. This is 20 years of energy policy in the UK. 4 departments, 12 secretaries of state, 16 energy ministers, almost one every year. And this was before we had a strong and stable government. So this is challenging. Can we do it? Absolutely. We do fit into a number of existing UK policies, industrial strategy, clean growth strategy, and again, we'll pick these up going through the day. So yeah, again, that question and trying to answer that question, is it worth it? It is a low carbon maritime opportunity. You've seen that it's supporting supply chain resilience and clustering, and that's really, really important for Wales. Peripheral economies, driving inward investment. You know, we have some real examples of that. Long-term energy security. We are world leaders at the moment, particularly based on the UK test centre network. You've seen how much is going on globally. The Carbon Trust suggests around about 50 to 76 billion worldwide by 2050. The offshore renewable energy catapult really does provide an evidence base of how we pass the triple test. The UK Marine Energy Report that's come out recently, again, really pushing that. It is a driver for Wales, and marine can become the next coal sector. Wales once led the world in energy. In the days of coal, the first ever £1 million cheque was written in Wales. We would really like to see marine energy take that step. And this is something I'm really important about. Is it worth it? We live on planet ocean. I know there are technical challenges in terms of getting energy from the ocean. There's a number of research that's come out just recently that suggests if we don't tap into the ocean in terms of solution, then we don't really have a hope of mitigating climate change. Thank you.